every hour we spend on that planet will be 7 years back on Earth.
What are you waiting for?
Go, 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 go!
Each tick you just heard is a day gone on Earth. That's you in IELTS Listening Parts 3 and 4. You are sitting in the exam room, you think you are keeping up. But every second of that academic monologue that you don't catch, every answer that slips past whilst you were thinking about the last one, that is time that you are never getting back. Parts 3 and 4 are where the band scores are decided, not parts 1, not parts 2. This is where the gap between a 6 and a band 7.5 lives. I am walking you through every question, every trap, every mark. The audio doesn't wait, neither do we. Alright guys, this is going to be Cambridge IELTS Test 20 Part 4. So if you haven't taken this, go ahead and take it if you don't want a spoiler. But anyways, you can just keep watching. Some of you have said that IELTS online tests are easier, but I do think Cambridge IELTS tests are actually easier. If you do harder ones and then you go back to easier ones, this will feel real easy. And that way you would improve drastically, but you don't basically need to. If you are doing only one source, I would always prefer go to Engovate. This is engovate.com, or buy the Cambridge IELTS books and do from those, practice from those. That will get you the most ROI, return on investment. Anyways, let's start.
Part 3, you will hear 2 education students discussing an assignment on teaching handwriting to children.
2 students talking about handwriting assignments on children's.
First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24.
Okay, 21 to 24. Which two benefits were keywords, 2 benefits for children of learning to write did both students find surprising? This is your keyword. These are the benefits for children for writing, but what do the students will find surprising? And the second one
now
would be 2.
listen carefully and...
Okay, also you gotta select 2. Children from dyspraxia. This is a movement disorder, coordination disorder, but you need to know what that is. Which 2 problems with handwriting do students think are easiest to correct? The people that they're talking, they think the easiest to correct. You gotta find 2. Let's go.
Answer questions 21 to 24.
How are you getting on with the assignment on handwriting?
Not too bad. You know, I hadn't realised that children benefit in so many ways from learning to write. It's such an important skill, and yet most people think handwriting is less important than in the past because people hardly ever write by hand these days.
Yes, and all the evidence suggests children should learn to write by hand before they learn to type, not least because it helps their memory.
That's right. The physical act of writing helps children to remember letters. That seems pretty obvious when you think about it.
What's less obvious is how it helps develop their concentration. They have to sit still.
See, memory is a benefit, but what is less obvious, so basically this student find this improving concentration surprising. That is 1.
And focus on one thing.
Yeah, that aspect of handwriting had never occurred to me before.
Same here. I'm not sure I understand how it improves children's imagination, though.
Well, there was that study which showed that primary-aged children generated more ideas when they were writing by hand than using a keyboard. I would have guessed that would be the case.
Yeah. I'd never associated spatial awareness with handwriting either. I thought spatial awareness was more to do with knowing where you are in relation to objects or other people.
I thought that too. But good spatial awareness is essential for writing because you have to space words correctly. It's not just fine motor skills that improve through writing, as I'd always assumed.
Handwriting is so much harder for children with dyspraxia, who have problems
Okay, so they find not imagination, they talk about imagination, memory, and find more skills, but they don't find this surprising. What they find is less obvious and surprising, and they have never thought of was spatial awareness and improved concentration for handwriting. Okay, we're moving on to dyspraxia. Let's go.
coordinating movement. It's good there are lots of things you can do in the classroom to help them. They need so much more support with letter formation. You need to play lots of games to help them distinguish letter shapes. It takes a lot of patience.
Yeah. I like the idea of using one of those pens that lights up if you press too hard. That seems like a really simple solution.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not sure there's much you can
Simple solution, lighting up pens to have them not apply too much pressure.
do about children with dyspraxia writing very slowly. It's more important to focus on accuracy, and as they get more confident, I think they eventually speed up.
One quite simple thing you can do is to use grid paper. So they write each letter in a box, and that trains them to space the letters correctly.
Indeed, that's more important for legibility than trying to get them to write in a straight line.
Okay, the female student mentions that if you get them to write on a grid paper, they can easily correct spacing of the letters. So that's easy. So these two.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30.
Okay, we got MCQ here. What does the women say about using laptops to teach writing children with dyslexia? So another disease. Laptops is your keyword. Say about using laptop to teach. And here discussing whether teach to cursive or printing writing. What does the women think? Cursive writing. This is your keyword. You got to anchor that in you got to look through for that keyword when they're talking. According to the student, what impact does the poor handwriting? Okay, clearly poor handwriting and exam performance. Prediction does the man make about the future of handwriting? Okay, future of handwriting. Woman is concerned that relying on digital devices has made it difficult for her to... What has been difficult for
Now
the
listen
women
and answer questions
to because she's rely on digital devices? And how do the two students feel about their feelings about their handwriting? MCQ, let's go. Pay attention to this.
25 to 30.
For some children, it might be better to teach them to write on a laptop rather than by hand, like children with dyslexia. They often really struggle with handwriting, and some just give up.
Yeah, it's not as frustrating for them if they get things wrong. On a keyboard, they can be more willing to have a go. But I read that developing fluency isn't any faster.
That's right. Did you read that article on the benefits?
Okay, what does the women say? The women was talking that if they make a mistake on the laptops, they're more tend to correct it. But becoming fluent was not easier, so they don't become fluent quickly. So that's a wrong answer. And then the man starts talking. Let's see if she even talks about this guy. Like motivation to learn that way. She didn't mention it yet, but we'll see. We also got to be careful about moving on to the cursive printing. Okay.
Teaching print rather than cursive handwriting, where the letters are joined up.
Yes. Well, in the past, cursive writing was
Women thinks, okay. In the past, cursive writing was
certainly considered more stylish and educated, but not anymore. Teachers' attitudes have changed because it's been proved that cursive is more difficult to learn, especially for children with learning difficulties who find joining up letters really challenging.
I agree. I was always worried that my poor handwriting affected my exam results, and now research shows that I was right to worry. I'm sure a lot of students think it's unfair that they're being judged on their...
Okay, let's go back here a little bit. So the cursive handwriting disadvantages a certain group of children because this is the correct answer. The woman mentions they find cursive writing is difficult for a group of children who find joining up letters really challenging. Okay, so that would be the right answer. When discussing whether to teach cursive or printing writing, the woman thinks that cursive writing disadvantages a certain group of children.
Handwriting, not just their knowledge.
Marks are definitely affected if examiners can't read the script. That's why it's always been so important to teach children to write legibly. Do you think the role of handwriting will change in the future?
I can't see that changing much. Touch typing still isn't taught in most schools, which is a shame.
Okay, let's go back a little bit because I kind of missed that part.
Not anymore.
Let's see.
Teachers' attitudes have changed because it's been proved that cursive is more difficult to learn, especially for children with learning difficulties who find joining up letters really challenging.
I agree.
Okay, so this is the right answer.
I was always worried that my poor handwriting affected my exam results. And now research shows that I was right to worry. I'm sure a lot of students think it's unfair that they're being judged on their handwriting, not just their knowledge.
Marks are definitely affected if examiners can't read the script. That's why it's always been so important to teach children to...
So there's marks are affected if the examiners can't read the script properly. So there's evidence that poor handwriting causes lower grades.
write legibly. Do you think the role of handwriting will change in the future?
I can't see that changing much. Touch typing still isn't taught in most schools, which is a shame. But maybe that won't be necessary in the future, because people will also be able to write by hand on digital
So the children can continue to learn to write by hand.
devices. Anyway, teachers understand the value of handwriting. It's a basic life skill.
True. However, the fact is that people are writing by hand less and less and relying on digital devices. That does cause some problems.
You mean
Digital
like
devices?
note-taking? There are lots of apps for that.
And for reading historical documents, apparently.
What is the woman concerned about? Made it difficult to her?
But my mum is shocked by my awful spelling and the fact that my punctuation is really inconsistent. I think you can put that down to lack of practice.
I expect so.
Punctuation.
Personally, I miss writing by hand. I hardly ever write anything now. I
did they
remember
feel
my
about-
grandparents had such beautiful handwriting, and it was so individual. Nobody I know would be able to identify my handwriting now. It's a shame.
I know. I feel the same way. I
They feel
used to
the
write
same
a
way?
diary by hand, and now I
Their handwriting is bad. That's what they're
do that
feeling.
digitally. It just seems less effort to do it that way. So it's not just a problem.
So they're regretful that they have lost that habit.
That is the end of part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 3.
Let's move it on. Just check that if all of them are correct or you have gone through everything and move on. Oopsie doopsie. Let's begin.
Part 4, you will hear part of an environmental science lecture about the impact of birds of prey on a farming community in Africa. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
31 to 40. You fill in the blanks. You want to look for the birds of prey. Not this is the key idea. They destroy blank and other rodents. So that will be some sort of rodent. Okay, what are they destroying? The birds are destroying rodents and some sort of other rodents, right? Could be like mouse, rats. They help prevent farmers from getting bitten by, this is your keyword. They prevent farmers. They help prevent farmers. They have been an important part of culture, local culture for many years, economy, by encouraging blank in the area. Birds may be accidentally killed by something, and hunting and sleeping is your keyword. Okay. Electrocution for power lines, especially during times of high electrocution, is your keyword. Local farmers are legally shoot them or some way kill them. Okay. We're gonna come back to these later, but for now, these are all. Even though it says as far as you can go, if you have time, go through all of them and anchor the keywords in your mind. Otherwise, just move on. Okay. We have a bit of a time because I paused. Let's say clearing away vegetation, providing a blank for the chicken, providing some sort of, I don't know, like a defense for children to protect the chicks from the prey, frightening the birds of prey by keeping something, making some sort of way to protect the birds. Okay. A blank of method is usually most effective. We'll see. Okay. Let's go.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
We've been looking at different types of conflicts that may arise between wildlife and humans at the boundaries of protected areas, such as national parks and animal sanctuaries. I'd like to illustrate this by telling you about some research that I've been involved in recently in the Central African country of Zambia, in the area around the Chembe Bird Sanctuary. which contains over 300 of the listed birds of Zambia. These include a number of birds of prey, such as eagles, hawks, and owls, that live by hunting and killing other birds and animals. Now, most of the people living in the local communities near to the bird sanctuary are small-scale farmers, and these birds of prey provide important social and ecological benefits to them. For example, a lot of damage can be caused to farmers' crops by rodents, such as rats, which would consume the crops as they grow in the fields, as well as after harvesting if they weren't hunted and killed by the birds. And the
Easy, such as rats and other rodents. Okay.
predatory habits of these birds also protect farmers in other ways. For example, a major danger to rural workers is snakes, whose bite may be dangerous or even fatal, and birds of prey have a major role in keeping their populations under control. Local people have always been aware of these benefits, and for years, even before the sanctuary was opened in 1973, the birds played a key role in the culture of the region. However, more recently, the sanctuary and its birds have also become increasingly important to the community in economic terms, because at present, after a relatively slow start, tourism has become an important source of revenue for them. However, although these birds of
supporting the economy by encouraging tourism,
prey are protected by the government, their numbers are falling. Some of these deaths are accidental. Fatalities occur when birds alight on roads to catch and eat their prey and are hit by fast-moving traffic. Drivers in Zambia have to take special care at night, as birds
hit by traffic when they're hunting or sleeping, accidentally killed,
may regard the quieter roads as safe places to sleep. Accidental deaths may also occur if these birds fly close to high-voltage power lines, as they may be electrocuted. This is a particular danger in the heavy rain, which can occur in the region in the months from December to April. And local farmers also pose a threat to these birds. As well as growing crops, small-scale farmers in the area also rear chickens. These provide food for the farmers' families, as well as being an important source of income. But they're also an easy target for birds of prey, and so farmers may shoot these birds, which is illegal but understandable. Or they may poison the birds, which again is illegal and can have negative effects on the ecosystem.
The farmers may shoot the birds, or may they also poison them, which is also illegal, right? Okay, we got a couple of time.
How else can farmers protect their chickens from birds
Protecting
of prey?
chickens.
Some people believe that to prevent the predators from settling near the area where the chickens are kept, it's best to keep this area free from vegetation. But in fact, this is counterproductive, as it means the chickens have no cover to hide in, and they'll be easier for the birds to see. Another possibility would be to prevent the chickens from going outside at all, and to keep them safe from predators inside a building. But this would cost far too much to be a practical solution.
Building.
Nearly all
They can have a building, but they would cost far too much, expensive. Okay.
All the farmers reported that they spent a lot of time and effort trying to frighten off the birds of prey without actually harming them. Most of the farmers had at least one dog and said this was a big help at scaring away the predators.
Most of the farmers have at least one dog and said this is a big help in scaring away, frightening the birds, making a blank with the metal objects.
Some of the farmers also reported that during the breeding season, when the chickens were particularly vulnerable, they encouraged their children to watch over the chickens and to hit pans with a metal spoon so that the resulting noise would succeed in driving away birds that were trying to seize the young chickens.
So the kids are making noise with a metal pan and object, right? Making a noise with a metal object.
None of these methods was 100% effective, so as a result, the village people told us that rather than just using one method, they were forced to use a combination for them to have any effect. And even so,
A combination to have them any effect. one of these are not effective, so combinations are effective.
These birds of prey remain a major threat to the chicken's survival and cause considerable economic loss to farmers. So we looked at the possibility of a longer-term solution.
Right, that's about it. I think you should go through
That is
and
the
look
end
if you
of
have
part
answered all
4.
the questions.
You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 4.
In this minute, check your answers for any spelling mistake. That is very, very important, especially in part 3 and part 4, because you are gonna lose mark if you don't spell it correctly. Okay, let's go. All right, never mind about that. Let's go to part 3. Okay, so you want to make sure you have done everything correctly, and if you have missed any answer, make sure to look for explain more. It will give you the correct answers. Okay, and this is how you do it. Parts 1, 2, 3 and 4 complete. Now you have a full listening system. Every trap, every question, every mark. Your assignment this week: take a full IELTS listening practice test. All 4 parts, timed, no pauses. Apply all the rules that you have learned from this video and the previous one. Then come back and tell me your scores in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this series helped you, share it with someone who is preparing for IELTS. Not a like, not a subscribe, but share it with someone who actually needs it, because that is how we help each other. Believe you can and you will get there.